Welcome to the Journalism Innovation Podcast, where we bring you the most interesting perspectives and insights from media entrepreneurs and publishers at the heart of news innovation in Europe. I'm your host, Tara Kelly, and in this episode of the Journalism Innovation Podcast, we discuss how news leaders can adopt alternative business models to thrive in today's competitive media landscape. To better understand this, we sat down with Ximena Villagran, the Chief Operating Officer for Maldita Foundation, and David Schraven, the publisher and co-founder of Correctiv. Maldita is a Spanish foundation and media outlet focused on fighting disinformation and promoting transparency, while Correctiv is a nonprofit, independent, investigative newsroom based in Germany. The pair discuss what it takes to pursue alternative business models in Europe and what they've learned from making their news organizations profitable and sustainable in Spain and Germany. They also provide advice for other media entrepreneurs looking to achieve the same thing in neighboring countries across Europe. This podcast is part of the European Journalism Center's Journalism Innovation Network, a newly launched initiative for media entrepreneurs and news innovators looking for a space to connect, learn, and thrive. To join, head over to ejc.net/network. This podcast and network is made possible with the support of the Google News Initiative. Now let's take a listen to our conversation with Ximena Villagran and David Schraven. Ximena and David, welcome to the Journalism Innovation Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks to you, Tara.
Thank you for the invitation.
I thought it would make sense to sort of start with both of you giving us an overview of the publications that you're working on and just, tell us about your founding story and your mission and your structure and, how it all came together. Why don't you start, David?
So Correctiv was set up 10 years ago, and we are not only a newsroom, we have also a media literacy part and a fact-checking unit. And within Correctiv, we are now around 100 people working, and it's a mixture of everything. We've got a printing house and a publishing house where we publish quite a lot of books. We do newsletters different. We've got a film production unit and produce documentaries and do a lot of different stuff, as well as the fact-checking unit where we do fact-checking on pretty much all social media accounts. And that's it.
That's a lot going on there. That's great, David. And Ximena, tell us about Maldita.
Yeah, well, Maldita it wasn't that clear as David since the beginning. They already thought they were going to be an editorial. Maldita wasn't like that. Maldita has two founders, Clara Jimenez Cruz, our CEO, and Julio Montes, that it's our general director. This started like a friends project. Basically, they had a Twitter account that it was called Maldita Hemeroteca. It was basically they finding in the archive to dig when politicians contradict themselves. So 1 year ago, they said something. Now they are saying this. So they searched that and they published the videos, the speeches and whatever on Twitter. And that was it. The Twitter account was really successful. So it became a section in a TV show that wasn't owned by Maldita. And then Maldita Hemeroteca, that it was this archives thing, became a Maldito Bulo, that it's like damn hogs. The translation, it's like that. And when this started on TV, it was like, we need to have something else. And we wanted to be independent and we wanted to be a nonprofit and we really want to fight disinformation. So in the living room of their houses, they joined one engineer, one science journalist, they both, and one data journalist. And they started working on this without any money, without any investment. And here we are now. That was in 2017. And now we are more than 50 people working on a newsroom. We are a nonprofit foundation. We do tons of things. We do public policy. We do research. We do journalism. We do technological development. We do media literacy. What else? I'm forgetting things. And basically, yeah, this is a mix of profiles, work, and our main mission is to fight disinformation from anywhere. So we do everything for that.
And what are the biggest challenges innovating and creating these tools to sort of stamp out misinformation? Like, what has Maldita found from that experience?
Well, has been like a tough journey. We have been changing our concept, not our mission, but how we do it. Because basically, this was founded by journalists. I'm a journalist also, just that I don't work as a journalist anymore. But most of our team, they are all journalists. And when you are in university, they always tell to you like, okay, you go make your investigation, you tell the truth, and then you publish, and then you forget what happens after publishing. It's like the impact, it's not your decision. In the disinformation field, it's not like that. It's like you need to make advocacy, you need to give tools, you need to make people learn. So this has been like an evolution process for the organization. And we are not just a media outlet anymore. We are really a nonprofit foundation. And one of the things that we do, it's having a newsroom. So that's basically what has happened. It's like disinformation, it's not a thing that you can fight just with journalism. Even journalism is a tool for that.
Absolutely. And David, you're also a not-for-profit, correct? Based in Germany.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious, like, what is your media literacy? Like, you said you were founded about 10 years ago. Was that something that you started out with? Like, or was it something that kind of evolved as you were, as your newsroom grew and you saw the need for this?
When we started, we wanted also to have this sharing our methods. This was our thought. We didn't want to produce only journalism and stories, but we also wanted to produce or share with the stories the methods that we use to produce our stuff. And that was the reason why we set up from the very beginning a web academy, an online academy. And this turned out to be quite successful. We have now Europe's largest web academy for media literacy with more than 90,000 subscriptions to it. And we use that also for work in schools. We share our stuff with a lot of different schools, with the universities. We produce KI-powered tools that enhance people's writing skills, and it works pretty good that way.
And how much of that academy you just described, you said you had 90,000 subscriptions? That's like really impressive. I mean, I used to work in e-learning and journalism and e-learning, so I know the numbers. That's like, wow. How much is that part of your business model? Like, and how much does that help you keep the lights on, so to speak?
As a nonprofit, it doesn't matter. So for us, it's part of our mission, of our founding statements, and this is the reason why it's self-sufficient. So it finances itself, and that's enough. And we've gotten this team, I guess, 8 people, something like this, or 10, I'm not so sure. And we produce quite a lot of courses, of workshops, and it's really pretty successful. I'm pretty proud of it. It's cool. And now we are trying to translate it to other languages as well, and we want to start it in English maybe even this year.
And is it online, or is it a mix of face-to-face and online?
It's everything is online. It's called Reporters Factory, Reporterfabrik. And it's the second branch is Citizens Academy, Bürgerakademie. So these 2 branches, and we offer also, based on these online courses, in-house courses with schools and universities, and from time to time also just for people who want to have something learned.
Right. And Ximena, I know Maldita from having interviewed Clara years ago for a resilience report series. I know you guys do some training as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a different approach than Correctiv. We don't have like an online academy that one fits all. We basically personalize everything according to the needs of. Even we work on projects that try to standardize things on our daily basis. We also have a team of 5 people currently that basically they are the media literacy team, but they also work with our whole newsroom. So, for example, if we are going to do a workshop of 3 days for journalists, we also work with the journalists in the newsroom. We teach them how to provide with workshops and everything to people. And we use our whole organization. We don't give just workshops on media literacy things, but also on journalism, data journalism, advocacy and lobby, product development, and things like that. We have like a whole curricula on courses, and we have 2 prioritized groups. There are things that we do for free, but there are things that are part of our business model. So, for example, we give these workshops to international organizations, to government offices, and things like that, and we charge per activity, basically. But we do things that we know that we need to do. One of those is for elderly population, and the other is for young people, not for kids. Kids are a thing that we are going to start this year, but young people and senior people, it's our main focus on this. And we basically get funded on this case by case basis, and also by grants. It's one of our main incomes, and it's basically how we pay for that team and how we are doing media literacy activities all the time. We do like more than 250 activities per year with that team.
Wow, that's really impressive. And I was on Maldita's website last week, and I was looking at one thing that's great about your organization, and I'm sure as well, Correctiv, is that you actually show where your funders, where your funding comes from. And it's quite impressive. So I'm just wondering, with all these different organizations that you're training and you're getting grants for and projects, like what advice do you have for other not-for-profits around Europe that are kind of trying to do something like you're doing? Like, it's not easy to get funding, right? Especially now, it's very, very competitive and everyone's fighting for core funding, but you got to get specific and you got to play to your strengths, right?
We basically don't have core funding. For us, it's like the dream to have. No, we have one core funding at this point. It's also in our account, but we just basically never get core funding. So what we try to do is to get projects that are related to what we have in our mission that we need to do on that year. We have a team just dedicated to fundraising, to project management, to product design. So all that is matched, and it's a team basically based on business strategy. It's awful to say that a nonprofit has a business strategy, but we need to have a business strategy in order to be sustainable.
We develop our small donations, and this is for us the most important part. Right now, we've got around 2 million euros from small donation each year, and it's growing quickly. We had a growth of around 30% each year. And this is, I think, most important for every organization, because from these small donations, you can have the stable core funding for the core mission stuff you need to do. This gives us a lot of flexibility to do whatever we need to do. And plus, to this core funding, it makes around 30-40% of our budget. We have around 30-40% more from different organizations or foundations, which is some core funding, not very much, like I don't know exactly, but around 400,000 euros core funding. The rest is project financing, quite similar to what Ximena said. And then we've got business, and from the business side, which gives us also a lot of flexibility, we earn money from different parts and services. And this is also very helpful if we would see a decline in small donations. This could leverage a little bit.
And Germany is right now, is kind of going through a little bit of a difficult time financially. I'm not sure if it's technically in a recession, but things are tight there, right? So you haven't really noticed that hitting your pockets yet at Correctiv.
No, small donations is growing and growing quickly. And this is what happens when you fulfill your mission. People see that it's necessary what we do, and they give a lot of small donations. Over the last 2 months, we've seen an incredible increase. It was in just 2 months around 1.5 million small donations.
Brilliant. And Ximena, Maldita's also...
No, Spain is not the case for donations in general. It's totally a cultural thing. We just get less than 2% of our budget from donations. And then we have donations from private foundations and things like that. But as David was saying on services is what allows us a little bit to move things around and to have an idea of as a crowdfunding, because we can earn money from services. It's not like we are earning huge amounts of money and then we are getting money back as we are a company and we have investors in there, but we get money from services because we can have a winning rate, a revenue rate in there. So we take that money and we invest that back into the organization. So that's how we do it. For example, Maldita owns a tech development company. We do chatbots for media fact-checking organizations and nonprofits, and we get money from that and we reinvest that in journalism.
Brilliant. And you mentioned Dudoteca. Is that a new or...
Yeah, that's a thing we are doing right now. Is we have been in like this evolution process from the last year. We have been changing how we explain Maldita and how we are not just a news company or a news organization, and we are a foundation. So as a foundation, now we have several brands. One hasn't been launched yet, but it's a brand just basically for social media and young engagement. Then we have La Dudoteca, that it's a new concept that we are basically, it's a new product we created from this idea from a lot of studies and basically the Reuters Institute, that people really believe in experts, but they don't trust in media. So these together with, we cannot manage all the questions of tons and tons of questions that we get from our users every day. We create this platform in which we connect people that have questions with people that have knowledge. So we verify that the people that it's answering to those questions, they are really experts on what they are answering to you. So I don't know, I'm an expert on fishes, I'm just thinking, or an expert on the sea. Someone sends me a questions about the sea, and I connect that user with the one that is donating their knowledge that knows about seas. And a discussion, a public discussion, it's going in there. And then Maldita's journal, it's going there and solve the question. We have like a conclusion after the discussion. So people can engage without a journalist being or a media company that says you have to believe in this. So we are exploring. It just launched yesterday. We did a testing phase with our community, and yesterday we launched to general public.
Oh, well, congratulations. And David, you also have an initiative that's quite people-driven, Crowd Newsroom.
This is a software we established also through a daughter company, also a non-profit daughter company. And this is it's a crowdsourcing tool. And with this tool, with the help of this tool, it is possible to conduct investigations with a lot of people. To give you an idea, in in Germany, the land registry is a secret registry, so you're not allowed to see it or search for who is the owner of several houses or property in your town. With the help of the tool, we were able to work together with around 15,000 people to get this land registry public. And these people helped us to collect all the data we needed to understand the property markets in big German cities. And the system works pretty good, and we use it also for other investigations where it's impossible to have your own data or where there is no data at all. And together with people, we collect all this data.
Fascinating. And I know everyone's very sensitive about their data, particularly in Germany. Is that a problem at all that you come across?
No, not at all. The tool we are using is data-proofed. It's based on the European data laws and security laws, and it works extremely cool. And for example, when we use it also for investigations, when we want to investigate abroad. We had an investigation in Somalia. We could use this crowd newsroom and could investigate the trafficking of illegal goods in Somalia, from Somalia to Saudi Arabia. And we could work with a community on ground in Somalia from abroad, from Germany. And this was very successful. Usually such an investigation would cost an organization up to 50,000 euros, and we could have this investigation for around 3,000 euros. And this is pretty successful. Now we are trying to use it in other countries as well, where it's impossible to have investigators on the ground. So we can use it to cross borders. It's cool.
That's very cool. Wow. And one thing I really love about Maldita is that you work with a lot. You're really cross-platform, right? And a lot of your content can be used with broadcasters across TV and radio and online. How did that come about? And just talk to us about how does that help you guys financially, or is it more about your mission, or does it fulfill both needs really?
Okay, this is basically in one page. We believe that our content don't need, like our articles and our web page are okay, but people don't need to get into our web page to get the information. So first, our team does a great job to transform an article into a lot of pieces that not necessarily get people into our website. We are okay with people seeing our TikTok video, our post on Twitter. We are okay with it. We don't need traffic in our website. We need people to get the information and people not to get full. So it doesn't matter if we don't get people in our website because we don't have advertisement, and that's okay. Then on the other platforms, these have two things. On one way, we participate in tons of TV shows, radio shows every day because they ask us. But permanent collaborations, we do permanent collaborations with a lot of TV shows, in a lot of radio shows, and that's things. That's part of what we call services. Basically, we get paid to be in there, and we prepare content to be in there. It's not, we are reusing our content, but for example, if the TV show today is talking about dogs, we are going to go and debunk this information about dogs. We prepare specific content for that participation, so we charge for that. And it's part of our business model, basically.
Right. And I wonder in Germany if there's opportunities for that as well, David, and if that's something that Correctiv has kind of tried to take advantage of, or is it just, it's separate? You guys are doing your own thing?
More or less, we do our own thing, but we share our stuff. So we give it away for free. And if a TV station would like to use it, welcome, they can use it. Or whoever wants to use it. And we have huge collaborations with a lot of local newspapers, and they can use our stuff for free. And we don't do advertising, So we don't care about these stuff. We have these steal our stories policy, so everybody can use our stories.
I forgot to tell that we used to have a Creative Commons license. We monitor also all the quotings, republications, and everything that all media does. We actively promote that media republish our content. We have agreements with, for example, 20 Minutes, that it's the free newspaper. So we give them the content for free, even they are a huge media company. It doesn't matter what we want, it's that people see our content. So we actively give them and select content for them every week. They publish online and in paper and things like that. We deleted the Creative Commons license to our content. We now have a specific license, but media can still sharing and reuse our content. The only thing is that we need to block it because of AIs and other kinds of uses that were commercial uses that were not journalistic uses. So that's why we are not using a Creative Commons license anymore.
Yeah, this is also with us. We don't use the Creative Commons license. Of course, we give away our stuff for free, also for commercial users and whoever wants it. But we need to control it. So if there's a bad actor, we may need to be sure that the bad actor can't use our stuff. And this is the reason why it's steal our stuff policy. If somebody steals it we don't like, we can say no.
And has that always been your policy, David? Or was it more with AI coming out that you suddenly were like, this doesn't work for us anymore to have Creative Commons?
From the very beginning, Creative Commons is not a good idea for us. Never has been.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, you both have talked about, well, David, you talked a lot about like the locals, like working with local journalism and local publications. Is it a matter of just sharing what you've created already, or do you collaborate on investigations as well?
Absolutely. We've got a network called Correctiv Local. There we have got, in this network is around 10% of all German local journalists. And there we create conferences where they gather together, or a large part of them, and we start working together on investigations. We have regular meetings online on the stories we would like to start or share. And then we have working groups that start to work on different stories, different investigations, and then they publish separately in their own newspapers. And it's up and running for around 5 years, and it's still growing, and it works pretty good. It's a good way to share stories and to start collaborations.
And also with local news, like I feel like there's a lot of news deserts around the world, in the United States, in the UK, elsewhere in Europe. And I wonder, is that something Maldita does? Do you work with local publications at all? Apart from giving your stuff away for free, but do you ever collaborate on fact-checking missions or?
Well, we are always searching for partners. One, on the funding part, we are always creating consortiums, launching project ideas, and that's how we engage with a lot of them. At the end, going with, it doesn't matter if it's national media, local media, we are always struggling for money. So we all have ideas, but we need someone to pay for it. So our first approach in some of these cases, it's like going and creating a consortium or a project team in which we all can get money for doing our work. It is important. And then we have like cool experiences. Like, for example, a month ago, we launched like this network of local journalism just related to climate disinformation. So we brought people from local newsrooms, small newsrooms outside big cities, and we brought them to Madrid. We give them a training of 2 days, and we create like this network that basically right now they share narratives related to climate that they need to debunk. They take our content, they ask for tools, they give tools between each other, and it's working really well. We are getting into spaces that we only had citizens before to monitor it, but like just knowing that the approach we are getting to some editorial stuff, it was like really city centric because we are in Madrid and we are in a big city, and we are forgetting that these climate issues were affecting like directly people because they don't have water, because they are struggling with agriculture things. And we can give also that touch because right now we have that network that we can ask for.
And I wonder if both of you could talk a little bit about sort of the tax structure and I mean, and what it's like in Spain and also what it's like in Germany. Can you have funds in your accounts at the end of the year, or do you need to spend everything that you kind of earn? I mean, as a not-for-profit, is it challenging in these two countries?
Well, in Spain, it's complicated. There are like tax things that, for example, if people give you a donation, they can get a tax benefit. So if they donate to Maldita Foundation, they will get things back. Then we have a tax exception that it's not like that. Maybe I'm not explaining that well. With the IVA, that it's like the 21% that we all have in all the things we buy. We get a return thing from that, but it's a thing that all companies have. It's not a foundation thing. It's just the percentage you get back.
The VAT, you mean?
Yeah, the VAT, yeah. And then finally, the other things work as you have a company. We can have money in our accounts. We need to pay taxes for that. So, for example, if we have a good year and we got extra money than what we spend, we have to pay taxes for that. And we don't have any exception and benefit or anything by being a foundation. Basically, we are a foundation because we believe that this legal entity allows us to be independent, allow us to be really transparent. And it's not just that we can be transparent being a company, but this forces us to be transparent. So this means that we don't have an owner, we don't have investors, we can explain people things. And even if I'm not here today, or Clara, our CEO, is not here today, they have rules to follow. And that's why we are a foundation and why we are a nonprofit.
In Germany, as a nonprofit, you need to spend the money that you get as a donation in a period of time of around 3 months, sometimes more, sometimes less. You're allowed to have a little bit of money on your accounts that gives you independency for up to 3 months of spendings, but you are not allowed to make any kinds of profit, and this is the reason why you have to spend all the money.
David, can I ask how you manage that? It's like if you are getting a lot of small donations and a lot of money, how you manage spending all that money in such a small period of time?
It's recurring, So you spend the money that you earned in the last 3 months, and then you're spending the next money. And sometimes it's working good, sometimes it's working bad. But most of the time, it's about hiring people. So you hire more people and spend money on work. We invest everything that we've got. We are just investing. It's like an engine. When it starts running, it works and works and works and works. And this keeps you growing.
Do you find it challenging, Ximena, in your role as COO at Maldita, obviously you probably work with accountants and stuff, but you still have to keep an eye on every penny, right? I mean, you're concerned about every project, and you also have the services, you have the teams that are doing the actual fact checking. There's a lot going on, right? I'm sure David finds it challenging as well, right?
Yeah, the Correctiv is huge around us. We basically prioritize all the time salaries and people. It's like 90% of our expenditure, it's salaries, people. And if we get more money, we will use that money to improve the conditions and the salaries and everything from our team. That's a rule, and that's a thing that we all approach on that. We really don't spend the money like in huge things. I don't know, for example, our office, you can imagine that we have someone that put tables on and fix things and whatever. Until not a long time ago, a year ago, Clara and I were and someone on the team, Carol, We were one weekend in our office putting tables and putting cables and things like that because we were like, we won't spend money on this. We can do it. And it's things like that. It's like we still have in mind, like we are really a small organization that don't have money for that because until 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we didn't have money even for salaries. So we are going to take care of the money like that.
Yeah, with Correctiv, it's pretty much the same spirit. We don't spend money. And as Ximena said, not for any luxury stuff. We just don't do it. But what we do is we spend money on coffee. Coffee is very
The same here.
Without coffee, no work. And we've got now a kind of hierarchy. So it's not like just one a managing part and the rest is staff. It's like a pyramid or pyramid. And this one we introduced 2 years ago, and it's now established. And we see it like this. It works pretty much and pretty good till you are 70 people. And after that, you need to introduce the next step of a hierarchy, because the management team cannot longer oversee all parts of the business. Just to give you an idea, we started a Russian-speaking radio station, and now we've got a satellite license, one of two for European satellites to broadcast into Russia. And this is, you can't run this on your own, so we needed to hire separate managers for these radio stations. And so the projects are growing independently with their own management staff.
And can I ask you what inspired you to do that? Was it the Ukraine war, or did you always have an interest in what was happening there, given Germany's close relationship with Russia before all this kicked off?
When Correctiv started, we already started investigations into Russian crimes and Russian mass murder, and we did it from 2014 on. And after the invasion of Ukraine, a couple of very prominent Russian people flew to Germany, and they came to our office and said, well, we don't have anything anymore. And we said, okay, we can set up a radio station. Please join us, work with us. And then we started to create this radio station with the guys from Russia.
And it's still working, and you're finding that people are able to access this, because there are ways of jamming satellites and making sure this information doesn't come out, right?
It works. We reach out to millions of people in Russia. And as I said, we are one of two radio stations on satellite, and we broadcast from Kaliningrad to beyond the Urals. It's not in the Far East, not to Vladivostok, but this is the next step. It's very important. I think this threat is so intense. And now in Germany, we have the discussions on to build an own German atomic bomb. There's discussion on how to fight back against the Russian aggression. And it's a real threat, and we need to oppose it. And as a journalist, our approach is give free word to people who oppose these criminal regime in Russia.
Wow, that's very impressive. Media independence is definitely something that's interlinked with keeping things going. And I just wonder if either of you think that maybe the European Commission or even just, national governments should be supporting newsrooms and like yourself, or is that kind of like infringing on your independence? So would that be a problem in somewhere like Germany or Spain?
We got funds from the European Union, and we got funds together from the European Union in several projects with Correctiv. I think the difficulty it's not on the money is in there. And there are different calls on different topics, media literacy, news, whatever. The thing is that it's really difficult to get to those funds. For us, it took us years to learn how to get to those funds. It was a huge investment to get a financial structure that can manage that funds. They have tons of rules. The other thing is that all the time they are asking you to innovate, to stop doing what you were doing and start doing a new thing, because if not, you don't get more money. That's the thing that it's exhausting, that it's difficult. But they are providing money. The thing is that they are not providing money just as a core fund, as for us to maintain our structures. So we all the time need to throw out what we are doing because there is no more money for that. Even we are getting money because they know that what we do, it's good, and that we do works. It's like, no, we changed the focus and now we need this other thing all the time. So that's what it's difficult. And we, at this point, the decision, we don't get money from the Spain government. This is a decision that allows us to maintain our independence, basically. But if you see our accounts, we only got like one grant last year from a public office from Spain, but it's like an open call for science topics that don't compromise our independence on all the other things.
Here in Germany, it's kind of complicated. So what we do is we accept money from governance structures, but only in our media literacy work, because we say this is the task of the public to serve educational needs. And we can't let go the government to say we get rid of all this educational stuff and make it private, This is the reason why we accept for educational purposes government money. On the other hand, for our journalism, we don't accept any money from any government.
Right, absolutely. And well, we're coming to an end here, but I just wondered if we could end on one final question of both of you giving advice to other independent media who are starting up in Europe and maybe trying to do the same thing in other neighboring countries. Like, what's your one piece of advice as, a COO and a publisher?
It's really complicated, but I think my main learning on funding, and if we are talking about sustainability, is that you collaborate. Basically, I think you are not getting any funds just by saying, oh, look how pretty I am and look how good I am at this. You need like all the independent media community working with you and getting money together. It's like you are not just attractive for your organization. You are attractive because you can do cool things with others. So that's a thing that I have learned from this European ecosystem lately. I come from Latin America, and in there it was like we're just all fighting for the same fund, and no one cares about anything. And in here, it's better if you work together.
I think what is most important is to be flexible and search for the better idea. Not to just relax and say what I do is working. Search for the better idea.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both for coming on the Journalism Innovation Podcast. It was really interesting listening to your experience and knowledge in this area. And yeah, I think we really delved in there. But thank you so much. A big thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in today. Want to hear more interesting perspectives on news innovation and media entrepreneurship? You can head over to our free Journalism Innovation Network at ejc.net/network. This initiative and podcast are powered by the European Journalism Center and supported by the Google News Initiative. I've been your host, Tara Kelly, and that's all for now. See you next time.